We've had a list there of successes the government claim. So first, taking back control of our borders and replacing sort of freedom of movement with this point-based sort of immigration system that should ideally attract the brightest talent from all around the world. How successful do you think that's been so far?
Well, I mean, to be fair to Boris Johnson, he has implemented the point-based system, and that was one of the things he did promise in the manifesto, 2 years ago when he was elected. But it is just about the only Brexit promise which he has fulfilled. When you talk about taking back control of your borders, you want to have genuine control. And as we all know, we've got this huge illegal immigration coming across the channel from France, which the government has at least had 2 years to get to grips with and has failed to take any positive action. But the other point, I think, which it's almost, I'm almost kind of surprised by the sheer chutzpah of the Prime Minister to put taking control of his borders at the top of his list, when at the moment we're embroiled in a massive fight with the European Union over the Irish Sea border, which is a border down the middle of the United Kingdom. So we don't have control of our borders. We've got people flooding in from France, and we've got a partition down the middle of the UK. And let me just put that into context. We are the only country in modern history, or indeed any period over history that you wish to identify, that has voluntarily partitioned itself without a single shot being fired. So this notion that we have control over our borders is frankly a complete misrepresentation of the position that the United Kingdom is now in. And I find it amazing. I've got my computer open so I can look at these points. I find it amazing that the Prime Minister's put this at the top of his list. I would have thought he'd want to run and hide from this point.
Maybe. I mean, that is one main border, and that is an issue. But he has, in a sense, created an actual sort of, we are separate from the EU now. So in a sense, we do have sort of a points-based system where people can enter this country based on that. I mean, that's part of taking control of the borders. I totally get the point that we don't have this this whole Northern Ireland situation sorted out yet. Do you see?
Yeah, well, I mean, Northern Ireland. I mean, Northern Ireland, actually. This is perhaps jumping to the conclusion of our conversation, but the way to sort Northern Ireland out is actually to ditch the trade and cooperation agreement. If you ditch the trade and cooperation agreement and you set the UK genuinely free of all the shackles in it that actually keep the United Kingdom in lunar orbit round the EU, we would be free. We would be an independent country. The border would be where it should be, which is between Northern Ireland and Ireland, where it has been for 100 years and recognised to be as part of the Good Friday Agreement. But the Prime Minister has shirked every opportunity he's had to give effect to that border and to give effect to customs controls across that border, choosing instead to partition the United Kingdom. So I don't see any solution other than the government effectively accepting greater regulatory alignment with the EU and thereby dulling down the impact and the optics of the board in the Irish Sea. But the board in the Irish Sea will remain, no matter what the Prime Minister's New Year's resolutions are. He's going to buckle on that point. And then the other crucial aspect about control of your own country, which plays into borders, obviously, is your judiciary. And Northern Ireland is, to a very significant extent, under the hegemony of the European Court of Justice, which is a foreign court that has sway over Northern Ireland, making effectively British citizens in Northern Ireland second-class citizens. And that's a huge issue of sovereignty, which, again, I think the Prime Minister is going to buckle on. And we're going to see him buckle quite quickly. With David Frost gone, and I'm sure David Frost resigned because he didn't see an easy solution to the protocol, we're going to see the government, I think, buckle quite quickly in the new year over those two key issues.
Taken them so long to work it out, and you worked it out in a little conversation right here and right now. They need to be listening to you. What about the vaccine rollout, though? Securing that rollout, streamlining procurement processes, avoiding cumbersome EU bureaucracy, delivering the fastest vaccine rollout anywhere in Europe last year. I mean, that's surely a win.
Absolutely first class from the government. First class, 10 out of 10 on the vaccine rollout. And I completely agree that we wouldn't have been able to do that if we hadn't Brexited. It was the freedom from the European regulatory body that allowed us to roll the vaccine out when actually the EU was holding its head in its hands, trying to figure out what next step it should take, because it is a hugely lumberous bureaucratic machine. And full marks to Boris Johnson, full marks to the team at Oxford, full marks to AstraZeneca, who all cooperated together to get ahead of the game, roll out the AstraZeneca vaccine, which originally was rubbished by Germany, rubbished by France, and then they wanted to impose the very border that I've just been talking about to prevent us, from being able to get access to the AstraZeneca vaccine. So full marks on the vaccine.
Full marks. Now, very, very briefly, because I've got to get to the next guest, but I want to ask you, striking free trade deals with over 70 countries worth over £760 billion, is that a win? Is this a good thing?
OK, that I think is basically a good thing, but they're not new trade deals, Nana. Out of the 70 new trade deals that they've struck, the new trade deals that they claim they've struck, 68 were actually rollovers from the European Union. And it's important to note that because the EU is a massive net exporter because of the prodigious German export machine, whereas the UK is a massive importer. Right. So the 68 trade deals that we've rolled over are probably not done on terms which would ideally suit the United Kingdom. Right. Yes, we've got the trade deals. Thank goodness we've got free trade, but actually the terms probably should have been better than the ones we struck.